Hello and welcome to this virtual field trip on computer networks. My name is John Freer and I'm a graduate student at Boise State University in the Educational Technology Department. And this project is done as part of my work in EdTech 541, Integrating Technology into the Classroom Curriculum with Dr. Jackie Gerstein. Our objective in this field trip is to develop an understanding of the workings of computer networks through this virtual field trip. Being a high school teacher at an independent school, I was hoping to go and actually walk into our actual network and take an actual field trip. But we're on summer break here, and the the Instructional Technology Department is hard at work getting ready for the next school year. So we'll be taking a virtual walkthrough. Now we're going to begin with just a look at why networked computers are beneficial to begin with. And what networking computers allows is the storing and sharing of information and data, connecting the members of the school community and making communication a little bit easier. Access to the internet is clearly a benefit. Sharing of printers and scanners and other devices, and just enhancing collaboration in general are all reasons one might want to network computers in an educational situation. There are some pitfalls or considerations to take into account when networking a school community, and chief among these might be cost. It will cost money to get all of the hardware and software and wiring in place, and also to make sure that everything is up and running properly. The staffing must be considered. You have to have the properly trained people who can maintain the network and to enhance it over time as technology changes, and also to train teachers and students to access the information and use the network. Must take into consideration hardware failure. What if key pieces of hardware were to break or go down? How would they be replaced, and what would the effect on the overall network be? And of course, security of the personal information and security of the students must be taken into consideration. As we go forward here, we're going to be looking at the connections that are needed to actually create that connected school community. That is the network itself. A nice place to start seemed to be the standalone workstation. I've chosen a desktop computer here to represent the place where an individual will go and do some work. Now, clearly there's benefits to the standalone computer. The software that has developed over the years has improved quality and ability to do work immensely. That can't be understated, really, or overstated, excuse me. The computer also allows for storage of data, and all of the work that individual can do can be saved here and recalled later. Now there's disadvantages as well. The desktop workstation, as it is in this particular scenario, is limited to one user at a time, and the sharing of this information would be quite challenging. Used to be floppy disks, which then evolved into burning of CDs and sharing of that, and then USB drives, the plug-in USB drives. But all of the data had to be removed from the workstation and then brought to another workstation. Creation of a network is going to enhance what can be done with that standalone workstation. The first type of network we'll look at would be the next level up. We take these standalone workstations and we connect them to create a peer-to-peer network. As the name implies, there's a level of equality here, that all individuals on the network are at the same level of hierarchy. The computers and devices are connected, which allows them to communicate with each other and send information to one another. They can share devices such as printers, which means that each computer would not have to be connected to its own printer. Now this is a look at what 5 workstations might look like if they're connected directly to each other. And right away there are some problems that can be seen, that each computer in this case would need to physically be connected through wires, through cabling, to 4 different computers. Right away that creates some problems for how the information is going to be directed through each computer and how the computer knows which wire to send it out to. In addition, not many networks are made up of simply 5 computers. Change this number to 20 and the picture becomes much more complicated. And even 20 would be a small number in today's modern network communities. So instead, this is a more realistic picture of what a networked computer would look like. The computers are connected to each other, but now they're connected in the center via a switch or a hub or some sort of device that is going to regulate the communication. Now a computer can send out information through its cable. The switch then sends it out either to all other computers or to a specified computer, depending on the type of device that we use as a central location. Again, all the computers could be using the same printer. And what we've created here is a LAN, or a local area network. Each computer does communicate with each other to share its data. The data itself, however, is still stored on the individual workstations. If we want to go beyond that, we would move up to the next level of networking, which is a client-server network. In this case, we've moved away from the peer-to-peer networking, and you can see, instead of that equality, there seems to be some sort of hierarchy in a client-server network, and that is in fact the case. In this case, the computers are connected to each other via a server, a central point, a central computer. The server stores shared data. It also runs programs that can reserve space on individual computers, and it can assign roles for the different computers that will be on the client-server network. Here is an image of what a client-server network might look like. I've taken the smaller networks that we had and made multiple of them, in this case 3, each connected to each other via a switch, and then also connected to the server. Now you might have to have more central locations here, perhaps a router to help get the computer networks talking to each other a little bit more smoothly. This is still considered a local area network, a LAN. And I've taken a very simplistic approach to help understanding. But we could also have included some wireless access points and send out and create wireless networks, perhaps over here a network of laptops. And it doesn't stop at computers like that. iPads, iPods, smartphones, and all sorts of other devices may connect into our network via that wireless access point. The number of devices can vary greatly depending on the school community and be in the hundreds or even thousands. Care must be taken at this point to make sure the network setup allows for efficient communication. Now the devices themselves create what's called a protocol network. All of these devices follow specific protocols that allow the computers to interact between their software and their hardware. That is, that we have to take information that people are creating and turn it into bits of data that are going to run through the actual cables and then be translated in different locations. And that's what the protocols do. There's also considerations to be taken into account with the physical setup, whether you're using switches or hubs or routers, to move the data most efficiently to prevent collisions and to prevent the information from being unduly delayed. That goes a little bit beyond our field trip here, but it is something that the tech department must take into consideration as a schematic is put together, developing the local area network for a school. As we move on, now we can connect our network to the outside world. In the most simplistic way of looking at it, essentially what the connections to the internet at large, that is the world's, all of the computers that are connected together in the world, it's really just taking our network and connecting it to other networks. As I say, that is a somewhat simplistic view, but we're moving beyond just our LAN or a local area network to a wide area network. The connections go well beyond the school or the classroom to everywhere in the world that is connected. Now in this case, I've connected our server to a router which is going to go through probably an ISP or Internet Service Provider to provide access to the internet. Now, the internet represents all of the other networks, perhaps other school communities and individuals all connected together. Because you are going into such a wide variety of sources of information, some safety considerations have to be taken. Firewalls are used to prevent information from moving out of the network or into the network. We don't want viruses or malicious software to come in and infect our local area network, our school community. At the same time, we want to protect our data, our individual data. Perhaps some personal data is saved on the various computers. We don't want people to come in and be able to just access that randomly. In addition, we want to filter. The internet, as we know, is not necessarily filled with all nice people. And so we don't want our students to be accessing information that is deemed inappropriate. Although what that is another conversation altogether. But this is what a computer network, a wide area network, would look like. We have our school community hooking into a network at large, the internet. That has been our virtual field trip of school networking and how the connections are made. My name is John Freer, and I appreciate your time listening to this presentation.